wants to be king!
Today's video is going to be addressing one of our member questions, which also ties in very well for anybody who has decided to undertake the 90 Day of Suck program. For many of you, you have found out already that this is an extremely hard program because you're forced to look at yourself in an honest light. And in order for this to work, you can't really bullshit yourself out through this. It's got to be an honest undertaking. And for a lot of people, what they're finding out is figuring out what it is that they actually like in life, what they are passionate about, is problematic. At first, when I got this question, it seemed very simple to me. I think the man's name is Yi Chan. If I've said that name wrong, I apologize, brother. But he asked how he could go about finding a career or work that he was passionate about. The first thing that I'm going to say in answer to that is, as a man, if you are going to engage in anything, if you're just, for example, if you have a job and one of the mundane tasks of your job is doing something that you don't particularly want to do, but it's something that you have to do, it's hard to get excited about those things. It's hard to do mundane tasks and things that you don't really care about with any sort of enthusiasm or any of that type of emotional attachment. And that's fine. You know, it's hard to take out the trash and, you know, do all of the little things that may come with your employ or your current situation. But this is one of the things that I was taught early by the men who made up the fabric of what I am. It's a couple of things. First of all, if you don't have time to do something right the first time, when are you going to have time to do it again? You know, a lot of times, especially with the participation trophy, you know, you're fine the way you are culture that we have cultivated. A lot of people just do enough to get by. They just do the bare minimum and they expect a maximum outcome reward for what they've done. They just show up and feel like the world owes them simply because they did what they were supposed to do. And that's a problem, because when everybody does the bare minimum, then things don't get done properly, and the expectation of maximum reward is ridiculous. But if we do that, then as a company, you're not going to make any profit. And that's what all companies are in business for, is to turn a profit. It's not to sustain your lifestyle. And so the first thing that I would say is, if you're in a position where you're at a job and you absolutely hate the job that you have, that right there is a problem in itself, because you've gotten yourself in a situation where you're having to do things that you don't want to do. But that's part of life. What I tell my men is this: if you're going to do something, if you have to do something, or if you're going to engage in something, you need to do it with the utmost of your ability. You need to overproduce. You need to get in the habit of overdoing mundane tasks. And the reason for this is really simple. I believe how you do anything is how you do everything. I found that people that are lazy and taking care of their health are also lazy and taking care of their job. People that are successful all have habits. They have traits that are a lot similar, if not exactly the same. And one of the things that successful people do, people who find fulfillment in what they do, is they over deliver on what it is that they're doing. And so the simple answer to that is, how do you, to the question of how do you find passion, or how do you find something to be passionate about, that's very simple. Whatever it is that you do, put yourself into it. Whatever it is that, whatever the task is, no matter how mundane the task is, no matter how menial it is, if it's something that needs to be done and you're going to do it, you need to do it well. That habit alone of doing everything exceptionally well will carry over into everything in your life, especially the things that matter. Another reason why I think that doing mundane tasks that you have to do, if you do these things with passion, if you do these things with intensity, if you do these things with purpose, a lot of times, most of the time, all of the time, somebody's watching. You know, before I decided to go into business for myself, I noticed that a lot of people that I was working with, they had this expectation that somebody owed them something. And because they were at this job for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, whatever their personal plight was, they felt like they were owed something because, you know, they showed up, got up, punched the clock, and did the job. Well, in my mind, because they got a paycheck, I felt like they'd already been compensated. Like, you're getting paid X amount of dollars an hour, and you agreed to that salary, so you're getting what you agreed to get. And these people would always put forth the very minimal effort and drag their feet until there was a promotion that came up. And then when the promotion comes up, it was time to hustle. It was time to put everything on the resume to remind everybody how long they've been there. You know, the expectation was because they had shown up that they deserved that position. And more often than not, it'd be somebody who was an outsider or somebody who had walked in, put their head down and just hustled that got the job. And then there was always the grumblings of, you know, I should have got that because, and it's the bare minimum. I showed up and did the bare minimum. Somebody's always watching you on a job site. Somebody's always watching you and paying attention to your performance. So if you're at a job that you don't like, that's part of growing up. That's part of being a young person that doesn't have control over their future, their career. But in the process, while you're there, while you're doing that, it's best that you start to cultivate habits that are going to carry over for when you do find something that you want to do, when you do find that position that you want to be in. Because if you're lazy and you do the bare minimum, eventually, after the excitement wears off, after you get the promotion, you're going to resort back to who you are. So I think it's the best practice to always put your best foot forward in whatever it is that you're doing. Now, as to the question of how do you find something that you can be passionate about, that's very, very simple. We're in a weird place where I think those people who are entrepreneurial in spirit, those people who look at problems and look for solutions instead of sitting back waiting for someone else to fix them, where we're headed is in a place where those people who are solution driven, those people who aren't afraid to take chances and risks to go for what they want, those people are going to bode very well. Our production has been shipped overseas, and we've become very dependent on other countries for everything that sustains our society. So what I've noticed recently is in my own manufacturing process of the things that I do, I'm starting to see shortages from American companies that undoubtedly rather get their goods from China. That's where everything is gone, and now China's in a position where they pretty much, we're dependent on them. Well, in order for America to get her marbles back, we're gonna have to bring manufacturing and production back over here. And the people who are willing and able to look down the line and see what's needed to happen, those people are they're going to be much better off than those who sit back thinking that everything's going to be all right because everything's been all right. The direct question was, how do I find employ or a career that I can be passionate about? And that's very, very simple, Yi-Chan. You simply look at what it is that you enjoy doing. What is it that you get joy from? Now, if that's playing video games and watching Pornhub, then you got a problem. There's going to be, I don't know that you're going to be able to make a living doing that. But if you've got any artistic bone in your body, if you've got any creative bone in your body, if you've got any problem solving bone in your body, there's going to be ways that you can take your passion, take the pleasure of doing the thing that you like to do, and you're going to be able to find a way to make money doing that. For me, I like doing artistic stuff. I've always enjoyed doing things that had an artistic bend to them. So once I got past the super goofball mentality of not wanting to take my time to do things that were more delicate in nature, I guess, I realized that there were a lot of things that I enjoyed doing that I never gave myself a chance to do. I never thought about doing it. One of those things is what I'm doing now. Simple things that you just enjoy doing. You can eventually, if you get good at doing these things, you can make your own way. In particular, this project I'm working on now, I saw a Wes Watson picture where he was carrying a Louis Vuitton bag that it caught my eye because of the color contrast. Well, I'd started making duffel bags for my gym because the price of the duffel bags that I saw from Rogue and all the other companies, it was overpriced. You know, we've gone through sandbags in my gym, and I didn't want to keep buying these things over and over again. So I decided to, see what the construction was, and I decided to make my own. Well, that process requires sewing, and so I taught myself how to sew on a weekend during COVID. I got on the internet, taught myself how to sew, and bought a sewing machine and started making bags. Well, when I saw the Wes Watson picture, and I looked up the bag that he had, and it was a $9,000 duffel bag. I looked up the construction on the bag, and it wasn't made out of angel wings or any of that. It was made out of very simple things. It was a very simple construction process, but you had to have a skill set to do it. So I decided that if it could be done, I can do it. And so now this is my first run at a bag, and it'll be what it'll be, but I've already got it sold. I shared my idea with a friend of mine, and he doesn't even care how it comes out. He wants the bag. So in finding your passion and finding things that you enjoy doing that you can call your career, it's very, very simple. Identify in your process, as you're going through this process of figuring out who it is you want to be and what it is that you need to do to start taking the steps of that. You're going to find out what it is that you want to become. That is part of this whole game. That is part of this whole process, is finding out who it is that you want to become. Who you want to become is going to show you and tell you the things that you need to be doing. The things that man does are the things that you need to start doing. In finding your passion is a simple choice. Your passion is a matter of looking at what it is that you're doing and saying, I get to do this, instead of I have to do it. And always keeping in mind that someone even if it's just God, is watching. That person that's watching you is watching and taking notes to see if you truly want the success that you say you want.